if you'll remember, back in June, we had a rezone of part of Indian Hills 6th subdivision, and the council approved that with the condition. We still didn't know exactly what to do with the additional parkland dedication that was a result of that, and that was 9,914 square feet. We went back and brought back some options for the city council to go through, and what was decided was that we would dedicate this land over toward the Indian Hills 8th parkland dedication from some time back, and get enough clickers going here. And this is in your packet. A close-up, on the right-hand side is the new property. And I got my nifty little pin here. That's really why I wanted this slide, so I could play with this. But this is the new property. That's the Indian Hills 8th parkland dedication. And just to give you a little more perspective, you could see where the original park was, and the rezone area was over here, and so there's the new property right there. And from staff perspective, that's acceptable. This went through committee and was recommended for approval there as well.
Okay. Thank you, Dwight.
Thank you.
Council have any questions for Dwight? Tom?
I have two. Could you go back one slide? First is just, I really, really appreciate that you have topo lines, because that helps. I think we should always have topo lines for park questions. It's really good. Thank you. I'm trying to understand what I know we're trying to herd the land together, but I'm trying to understand the function of parkland with one piece on this side and the other piece on that side and a road in between. Like, what are we trying to do there? Is that going to be a safety issue? I'm trying to understand how we see that functioning with kids and people using the park. And you're the PhD on park stuff, so I want to know how that's supposed to work. I don't really get it, but I understand we're trying to get them together, but how to... Okay, I'll stop talking.
Okay. Well, you're looking way out into the future here, right?
Yeah.
So right now, this is from something that was just planned some long time ago. But the plat that exists right now, I don't even know if you call it preliminary, but anyway, that road is not necessarily planned to go through there. And our hope is that we will either purchase or shift the land over. Somehow or another, that'll all be joined together. There won't be a road going through the middle of it, or this wouldn't have made any sense to do that. So at this point, it's just located there, and it's not that abnormal to shift the properties as they get into the actual development plans later on. So that's what that's about.
But for clarification, it could be a road between those two park parcels?
I'll defer that one if I could.
Yeah, does someone...
Les?
Unfortunately, I have to disagree with what Dwight's saying. Based on the platting and the roads and the opportunities for road connections between Indian Hills Drive and the South Park Palouse Road, that is one of the few locations that we do have a corridor for a road that could someday be built down that hill. This is not something we've talked about previously. So, yeah, I do have to disagree. I think there is potential for a road in that area. Does it have to be that exact alignment? No. But that is the one alignment that we currently have, because Alice Street does stub off of Indian Hills Drive in this location. And so, yeah, how all that ultimately works out, I don't know. Part of the challenge here is ownership lines, the Thompson's own property to the east, and what was, I guess, the Powers own property to the west. And so they can only get so close together in some respects with that road alignment there. So.
Okay. Thank you. I saw Sue's hand next.
Oh, I was kind of putting on my planning and zoning hat. And at the time that we're talking about plating, there was no way to talk about vacating streets or adjusting streets. And I guess my question is, looking at those topo lines, if you did a straight line street, what would the slope on that be? Because that's why I'm thinking that street would never actually be straight down unless it was a chute that was just redone by the pool.
And I've not run those, so I can't say offhand. But
Yeah, so I think that was part of why it was where it was. And Thompson's, when they do develop the rest of that property on the other side, which I don't think is platted, Bill Belknap, is that the property to the east is not platted at all yet, is it, that Thompson property?
The property to the east of that is not platted currently, correct?
Right, so at some point, there will be some parkland dedication required for that when it's developed, and it can all be amalgamated perhaps, I think, with some of the thinking.
Certainly, the additional parkland that is required to the property to the east is developed at some point can be added that in some configuration or shape.
Right. Where the road could be curved, anyway. So you don't know what the slope would be if it was in a straight line?
It's some early, if I recall back from our prior discussion on July 15th, there was some discussion about the roadway alignments, the network and layout in that location. Looking at rough topography, just based on our GIS data, it looked like it was 10 to 11% on a straight line down the hill. That's approximating the maximum allowable grade underneath the street standards. Now, they're generally allowed to exceed that for short distances occasionally, but it's right at or just slightly above on a straight line based on the existing topography.
So the street may go through, but it may not be in the straight line. So it could go around the park.
Well, there are two streets that are stubbed to the south off Indian
Right.
Hills Drive. There's Alice and Pineco, and both of those have the potential opportunity to go down and connect with East Pluce River Drives.
Thank you. Yes, Walter's hand next, and then Tim.
I think they've answered my questions. My thumb holding over this thing gives me 60 feet of drop and 600 feet.
Okay. Tim, did you have your hand up?
Either Les or Bill, for me, and hopefully perhaps for the public, would you define what a deed of dedication is and what it does?
Actually, refer that to the city attorney.
Who's official now?
Rod?
The deed of dedication is granting that particular item to the city for its use in the future.
Is it specific to exact points on the ground?
It is, but it doesn't mean it can't be moved at some point.
Okay.
Okay. Tom, I saw your hand next.
Yeah, well, I had voted against this at the, whatever meeting this was that we first looked at the parkland dedication for this thing, because I was believing that we should put the park for, could you go back to the next one, the number 2 picture here? Since the rezone is over there where in the center of that pink circle, that the park should be over in that same phase. And I guess I still have the same 2 concerns, that one, the parkland should be over there attached to that rezone or in that area of that rezone. I still keep thinking we're going to make something work with those lots over there, because it makes more sense to me to put it there. And then secondly, I'm concerned about the timing of the park, that this, as Dwight pointed out, this thing could be, in the far down in the future. So I think those are the 2 reasons why I'm still not comfortable with this.
Walter?
Madam Mayor, I'd make a motion we approve acceptance of the proposed deed of dedication.
I will second that.
We have Walter's motion and Dan's second. Discussion?
Question.
Wayne?
I guess I've either forgotten or I'm not clear. Probably Bill can answer this. East of Alice and west of Alice, owned by the same, does Thompson's own the property west? They don't, do they?
No.
Separate property.
The Thompsons own up to the east boundary, and I know the diagram
Right.
reflects a future Alice or future Alice right-of-way. There is no dedicated right-of-way. There is just property. There's an alignment, and the property ownership has a 60-foot wide section that extends down to East Bliss River Drive that is owned by the Indian Hills Trading Company that owns property to the west, essentially from what would be, if there was a future right-of-way that's dedicated straight due south, from the easterly right-of-way line to the west is owned by the Indian Hills Trading Company. From the easterly right-of-way line to the east is owned by the Thompsons.
I was fine till you explained it.
You thought you knew, huh?
Go back
Dwight,
to
if you could put that
one that
diagram
shows
up.
the future straight.
Who owns what?
But that's not dedicated.